what really happens during the Sinhala and Tamil New Year, and is it really being forgotten?
What is up guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm gonna take you to explore and celebrate the Sinhalese and Tamil New Year and share with you the customs, rituals and traditions, not to mention the food and activities that we do during this very auspicious time here in Sri Lanka.
But I also want to share with you why this might be one of the very few times that you might get to experience it like this. The Sinhalese and Tamil New Year is celebrated on the second week of April and is filled with vibrant traditions and customs that are native to the island and can be experienced all around Sri Lanka. However, what very few people get to experience is how this festival is actually celebrated in the villages of Sri Lanka. And today, we are hoping to show you just that.
The most vital part of the Awurudu celebrations among all the communities involved has to be the sweets. And today, we are here in a village that is known to be the sweet village, which means it's a village that has 4 generations practiced the art of making traditional sweets. So we've come here to a local's home, and her livelihood actually is to make sweets during this festival time. So we're going to start off by learning how to make one of my favorite Awurudu sweets, and that is Asmi. It's kind of like a deep fried string hopper with a sweet sauce trickled all over it. It's like a syrup. So the first step to preparing the Asmi is to gather the rice flour and some salt and then mix it with a very peculiar ingredient, one that I didn't know had any place in this recipe, and that is the sap from this leaf. This is called Awurudu in Sinhala, and this is a technique that has been passed down through generations, and it's something that obviously is known in this village simply because they have been making traditional sweets for a long time. Essentially, you take these leaves, you wash them, and then you crush them with some water included in the bowl, and it slowly starts to release this fluid, very similar to what comes out of okra. And this juice is then strained out and mixed with the rice flour and salt to make the batter. Once that mixture is done, it will be fried for the first time into these circular discs of crispiness, and afterwards it's left to rest for a couple of days. And once it has completely rested, it's fried again, except this time, while it's frying, it's folded into 2. Then you let this rest and go on to making this syrup, which is very simple. It's a little bit of sugar that is browned, followed by a little bit of the syrup that is made from the plant leaves as well. The reason why they use this plant that has this slimy texture produced from it is because back in the day, in traditional times, even though now we have certain gadgets to help us make that shape of the Asmi, they used to just dip their hands into the batter and use their fingers to create that swirl. And so they needed something to add into the batter that would ensure that the consistency of the batter falling from the fingers onto the oil is streamlined and doesn't break in between.
Spending the day with these ladies, it was great to see how much of what they are making today are based on ancient recipes that have been passed down over centuries in this village. But it was also quite disheartening to see that the next generation was showing very little interest in taking this legacy forward.
Today is the day before the New Year, and both communities are busy preparing for all the activities and customs that they need to follow to welcome the New Year. Today we are at the Sri Muttumari Amman Kovil here in Mathale, and we're going to be following one of our Tamil friends into the Kovil and observe the customs as he gets prepared for the New Year with his family. So let's go in. The water is collected from here behind the temple, and this concoction is made in a very large cauldron by the priests in the Kovil, and it includes a variety of different plants and spices like turmeric, pomegranate leaves, just to name a few. And it's all boiled together, and interestingly enough, turmeric is something that even the Sinhalese community think of turmeric water as a way of cleansing yourself. So what I understand is that this concoction has been made to cleanse the spirit and the body and the mind before entering into the new year. That is how I understand it. So this concoction, someone from the family or the whole family together will come and collect it in a bottle. They take this concoction home and then they apply it onto all the members of the family, just onto their head, and then they will follow it up with a full bath. Next up we have Unduwel. Now this is something that is very delicious but also not too sweet at the same time. It is fried and then dipped in oil while it's still hot so that the pores don't close, and then it is taken out and cooled. So what you end up with is this fried dough that has soaked up this sweet goodness but is also covered in it. So it's the perfect sweet delight. The flour for this is actually made through a process of fermentation by mixing equal parts of black gram flour as well as wheat flour and rice flour. So all three are mixed together and left overnight with a little bit of water to ferment, and then in the morning it's taken out and mixed with flour again until they get the correct consistency before they start frying it. And the interesting thing I'm seeing as a consistent factor here is nothing is set down to a certain recipe saying this one needs 1 cup of this, 2 cups of that, 1 teaspoon of this. I mean, here she only said we use equal parts of each flour. But other than that, everything is based on the texture that she feels with her hand. She knows how the perfect batter will feel in her hand, and she just keeps adding and subtracting until she gets the right texture. And that's something very interesting when it comes to generational recipes and food. Factors can change, and it's not about the correct quantities. It's about ending up with the right texture and base for what you're going to make. And I find that very interesting. A very island-like mentality, you know. Just chuck in whatever you want and it's going to come out good. Bathing signals the start of the rituals that are set for the new year, and just like the Tamil community, the Sinhalese community will also gather with their families and bathe to end the new year. And then they proceed on to the Nonagate, or the neutral period. This is marked as the time in between the old and the new year, and it's a time that usually you are meant to observe religious activities and somewhat remain in a neutral stance. How far you take this really depends on your family and your traditions. Some people enjoy going to temple during this time and meditating. Others prefer to sit quietly at home and perhaps read a book. And we are back at the sweet village, and as you can see behind me, the sweet village also does partake in paddy farming. And the very interesting thing is that the Sinhalese and Tamil New Year does coincide with the harvest season, which means that it's a joyous occasion all around and many reasons to celebrate. Now, because of this reason, this is a time that Sri Lankan families who are spread out all around the island for work and studies and other reasons all gather back home in their ancestral homes, in their hometowns and villages and cities, and they have a big celebration as the family comes together. You have cousins playing together, you have the adults catching up, and it's just a wonderful and joyous occasion and a good time to have a party. And of course, this time of the year is actually one of the biggest holidays that you get the entire year of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is very popular for having the most number of public holidays. But this Sinhalese and Tamil New Year, this time period is usually when people get officially about 4 to 5 days off and unofficially about 2 weeks off. I give you one guess on what the name or what kind of game is being played here. It is a very popular old school Sri Lankan game, something that we play during Awurudu, something our parents and possibly even our grandparents have played. It is called Elle, and it is basically the Sri Lankan version of baseball. Now, if you ask me how this game came to be, I have no idea, but I also find it really funny. The game is called Elle. It is really interesting how this game found its way here. However, I think it's far more interesting on how they're playing this version of Sri Lankan baseball on a layered paddy field. I mean, it doesn't get more Sri Lankan than this. During the Nonagate period, you usually observe spiritual practices like going to temple. So today we are going to be going to the local village temple with the family that we are spending Awurudu with this time. Next up, we have 3 sweets that are always on the table, and these are 3 types of kevums. So the 3 of them are made in a similar way. We'll start off by explaining how to make the atirasa. So this is made by making the caramelized sugar with water, and then you add rice flour into the mix and mix it well until you get the correct consistency, and then you leave it overnight. And what the aunties were saying is that it's very important to let it rest overnight. That's what ensures that it forms well and holds its shape well, but also remains really soft and tender inside. Then you have the mung bean sweet, which is mung kevum. This one is very similar to atirasa. It's a caramelized sugar, but of course you have to make sure you don't make it too dark for this one. Followed by rice flour, and then you add on the dried mung bean flour into this, and you mix this really well and you make it into a flat shape, cut out little diamonds with it, and then you coat it in the batter, which is made with coconut milk, turmeric and a little bit of salt, and then you fry it, and it forms this amazing crunchy sweet with a equally sweet and delicious, but I like to think healthy, filling inside. Last but certainly not least, we have the konde kevum. This one is very technical to make, and it gets name from this protrusion it has in the front here, which resembles a lady's hair when it's been tied into a bun. It's again made with the caramelized sugar, but this time it is mixed with rice flour and wheat flour to create a very creamy, soft consistency, mixed with your hand, of course, till you get the correct consistency, and poured into the frying oil. And this is where it gets very technical, and we actually had a person come in specifically to make this. This is her specialty. The other aunties didn't even want to touch making this because it's that technical, and there's like a spinning technique that is used to make this protrusion, and that is the very special konde kevum. Good morning guys, and Suba Alut Awurudu Dakveva. Happy Sinhala and Tamil New Year to you. I hope you are enjoying and have had a wonderful time with your family for the New Year. The New Year dawned for us last night, and we are celebrating and carrying on the customs this morning. I am very excited to share with you the traditions and the rituals that we follow for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. So let's get started. One of the most important activities that signals the start of an auspicious new year for the Sri Lankan people, Sinhalese and Tamil, is the lighting of the hearth. This is where you set up 3 stones and set up a small fireplace with wood, lay a clay pot on top of it, filled with either coconut milk or cow's milk, depending on where you are and what you can get your hands on. And the whole idea behind this is that once the pot begins to boil and it eventually overflows, that signifies a prosperous new year for the family, and everyone hopes for a pot of milk that overflows from all the sides. That it signifies that it's an excellent new year that is about to dawn and come into your life.
As the new year dawns, the hearth is lit, symbolizing prosperity and new beginnings. While the husband kindles the fire in the living room, the heart of the home comes alive in the kitchen. The wife lights the hearth with devotion, preparing for the first meal of the year, kiribat, the sacred milk rice. With the hearth now blessed, the milk rice cooked to perfection, the time has come for the first meal of the new year. In a moment rich with tradition and deep meaning, the eldest male of the family offers the first bite to the others, a gesture of love, respect, and the wish for prosperity. As each family member receives this first taste of kiribat, it is more than just a meal. It is a symbol of unity, gratitude, and the blessings of a new beginning. With smiles and warmth, the new year truly begins, together as one family, bound by love and tradition. As the first meal is shared, another cherished tradition begins. The spirit of Aurudu is felt through the heartfelt exchange of gifts. Giving and receiving presents is more than just a tradition. It is a way of showing gratitude, love, and appreciation for one another. Parents bless their children with new clothes. Elders offer gifts as a symbol of goodwill. as the family strengthens their bonds through this thoughtful gesture. Each gift, no matter how simple, carries a deeper meaning, a wish for happiness, health, and prosperity in the year ahead.
Here is where you see the really beautiful thing about being a multicultural country. Right now, the family is heading off to visit their relatives, and because the village is so small and it in fact began with just 3 families who started here many years ago, everyone is related, which makes it very nice because you spend time in your family home, you celebrate during the auspicious hours, and then you go to visit all the relatives and share gifts with each other. The interesting thing is that this is a custom that is shared amongst many of the religions in Sri Lanka. If you take the Muslim religion, the Muslims also, once they're done fasting after Ramadan, they go visiting to see all their relatives. And I find this a very, very interesting similarity between them, and I do think that these are some of these things that make us Sri Lankan together. I don't think that it's religion based only. I do think that culturally we are tied to each other in something much deeper than just our religions, and that is that we are Sri Lankan at the end of it, and we have cultural traditions and significances stemming from the fact that we're all Sri Lankan, and I really love that.
Meanwhile, the Tamil community celebrates this day with families dressing in new, clean clothes to visit the Kovil together, embracing the blessings of the new year. They take part in a special puja, offering prayers and seeking blessings for prosperity, happiness, and success in the year ahead. The air is filled with the fragrance of the incense, the sound of the temple bells, and the glow of the oil lamp creates a serene atmosphere, marking the beginning of a new chapter filled with hope and positivity.
And now it is time for the fun part, the Awurudu games.
As the Avurudu spirit fills the air, we make our way to a nearby village where the entire community has gathered to celebrate the festival through the lively and spirited Avurudu games. This is a time-honored tradition with families, neighbors and friends uniting every year to organize these games, creating memories and passing down cultural practices to the next generation. To mark the start of the festivities, the villagers' young girls and children all come together dressed in colorful traditional attire in a vibrant dance performance. Their graceful movements reflect the joy, unity and energy that defines this special time of the year. The beat of the drums, the twirl of their skirts and the smile on their face set the stage for a day of celebration. It's a beautiful reminder of how tradition brings people together. Having said that, we couldn't help but notice how there were only a handful of young kids who were dressed traditionally for the celebrations, and many of the youngsters that we spoke to didn't seem to feel the importance in this anymore.
The first game of the day has kicked off, and this is what is known as the grease pole or the grease gaha. It's essentially a palm tree that has been stripped of its bark, covered in 1 inch of grease, and you have to climb all the way to the top of it in teams of usually 3 to 4. So what we're seeing right now is the team is dividing off into twos each. They're working together to flick the grease off the tree, then they climb on each other's backs and go higher and higher. I really don't know how they're going to take this higher up and how far they're going to go, so it's going to be very interesting, no doubt very challenging and a little dangerous, so only the professional people who usually do this are the ones doing it today. And now we have a crowd favorite, Kottapura, which is loosely translated to someone like a pillow fight, where you're mounted on these tree poles and all you have to do is hit the other person off first before they hit you off the tree pole. And that's basically it. It's loads of fun, it's very short, best out of 3, and it's that simple, and it really gets the crowd excited as well. Next up is a very popular game that used to be called Kanamutti and it is now called Vasanamutti. And the goal is to come here blindfolded and hit one of these pots, and you only get one try, one swing, and these guys, they spin you around quite a few times and send you off in a crazy direction. But I've seen some really amazing guys with great navigation skills that are able to find their way and mark that shot so accurately. It's always a fun game. The crowd gets really excited and you always want to go back and try again and see your luck. In this game, however, I was told that even if you hit any one of the pots, you're not considered the winner. Only one of the pots is the winning pot. The others are just filler pots maybe. So interesting. Game is evolving.
Next up, it's the turn of the children to join in on the Awurudu fun with two particular games that bring laughter and excitement. First, we have the ever famous bun eating competition, and the kids with their hands tied behind their backs must race towards them. The goal? To finish the buns as quickly as possible, all while not using their hands. Then we move on to placing the eye on the elephant. One by one, each child is blindfolded, spun around and sent off on their mission to place the missing eye on a large drawing of an elephant. With the crowd cheering them on, they walk, stumble and laugh their way towards the board, hoping to make the perfect placement. It's a game of balance and trust, as each child tries their best to add the finishing touches to the elephant. These playful games are the highlights of the Awurudu festival, bringing joy to the young ones and ensuring that the spirit of fun and tradition is alive in every corner. Something that truly brings the spirit of Awurudu to life is the rhythmic beat of the raban, played by the elder women of the village, accompanied by Sinhala traditional poems. As the drums echo on, the women dance around it with joyful movements that celebrate this wonderful time of the year. Here too, we couldn't help but notice that there were no young women interested in carrying this legacy forward and participating in the playing of the raban.
Well, that's just a few of the games that take place during the Awurudu festival. In fact, we have a best dressed competition coming up in the evening, the Awurudu Kumarya and the Awurudu Kumari, and there's lots more that go on. And there's also very simple games that are played because these are games that have been passed down through generations. They're traditions. But the beauty of it is that it brings entire communities together. In fact, even if you aren't somebody from the community like Shehan and I in this instant, we are very warmly welcomed, not only for the games but into people's homes for meals and tea, and it's just a very community-based experience. And that's really what this festival is about. The Sinhala Tamil New Year is about bringing people together, back to their families, back to their hometowns and villages. But unfortunately, the flip side of it is that it is a little bit sad to see that some of these traditions aren't being very accepted, at least with open arms, by the next generation. You know, you see less and less of the younger people in a sarong and in a top. You see very few of them taking part in the dances and some of the competitions, but they're still here, which speaks volumes that we do feel a deep connection with our culture. But I think it's about making it more hyped for the young people, and I think there's something that we as a generation can work on in showing our love for our culture and our traditions more openly and making it something that people want to share with a lot of pride once again. And I hope that this video is something that encourages people to do so as well. I hope this video gave you just a small taste of what Awurudu in the villages of Sri Lanka might be like. It is only a small taste. There's no way that I can encompass the warmth, the flavors, the feelings of being a part of this celebration. And I must say that this time for me, it was also really amazing to witness the Tamil community's traditions as well, and also to draw similarities between the two communities. They themselves sometimes don't know how similar they are to each other, while also having their marked differences. And I think that's really what makes us all Sri Lankan about being Sinhalese. and Tamil, the fact that we have so many of these wonderful similarities that make us one amongst many. So with that, I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching until the end, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.